get some analysis now from criminal defense attorney Daniel Hochheiser, also a former prosecutor in New York City. He's with us live this morning to break it down on the T-Mobile hotline. Dan, this does not sound good for Mr. Hastert.
It doesn't, and what's interesting about this indictment is that it does appear that this criminal allegation brought by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Illinois has nothing to do with the public service Dennis Hastert did as a congressman, but rather what he may have done as a teacher and a coach in Yorkville, Illinois, during the years of 1965 to 1981.
All right, so to be clear here, the only thing he's been charged with so far really is these suspect cash withdrawals and lying to the FBI about it.
That's correct. There are two charges. The first count is what we call a 1001 violation, which is making a false statement to a federal agent, which concerns a December 8th, 2014 meeting in which Mr. Hastert was interviewed by federal agents, and they asked him something about these cash withdrawals from several different banks, and Dennis Hastert told the agents that he was just keeping the cash, and that's what he was doing, and the FBI claims that was false because what he was doing was he was making payoffs to this individual A person referred to in the indictment.
How come they wouldn't name individual A?
That's a good question. Individual A may be a cooperating witness who's supplying information to the government, or individual A may, him or herself, be a target of an extortion investigation. At this point, I don't know.
Yeah. Wow. All right, so this past misconduct that was not identified specifically in the indictment seems to point back, as you said, to his time in Yorkville, Illinois, before he became House Speaker. If that is something really serious, right, I don't know, a murder, some sort of assault, a sexual abuse, something like that, is there a statute of limitations on something like that?
There is on the underlying offense. For example, let's say he committed sexual assault, and there's no allegation of sexual assault in the indictment, to be clear.
Right.
But for whatever misconduct was perpetrated against individual A, Dennis Hastert wouldn't be liable for that conduct because it's too long ago and would be barred by the statute of limitations. But the December 9th, 2014 meeting with the FBI in which it's claimed he's lied is not barred by the statute of limitations. Neither is the second count of the indictment, which alleges a crime called structuring, which alleges that Dennis Hastert withdrew amounts approximately 106 times from 4 different banks, often in amounts under $10,000 to avoid the currency transaction reporting requirements.
Speaking with Dan Hochheiser live this morning, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor. Individual A, I guess, could be a go-between too, right?
What do you mean by go-between?
Like that person just could be collecting the money for somebody else who could be the victim.
That's possible. I mean, that's not how I read it. That would surprise me.
Okay.
That is possible since we don't know who individual A is. But it appears from the face of the indictment that this was simply a matter of making payoffs to this person to hush up whatever bad things Hastert may have done to this individual all those years back in Yorkville.
Right. Dan, thanks for a few minutes as always. Daniel Hochheiser, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor in the Bronx.